So you're an agent, right? In the state of Florida. You're with IAD, which is an international company. We have 20,000 agents out there across 8 different countries, and they're sending you referrals. And you have a foreign seller now. We're here in, I don't know, Ocala, Florida, or West Palm Beach, or wherever it might be, anywhere in the United States, but let's say it's West Palm Beach. And I'm looking to sell a home. I've got a client that's looking to sell a home. I got a great referral, and I don't know a lot about foreign sellers. What I need to know is, are there tax solutions? Are there things that I have to do? Do I have responsibilities as an agent? But the answer is probably no. But I have the responsibility to introduce other professionals that can help that person through the transaction, right? So outside the title company, outside the other side of the transaction. And that's the key for today's tax solutions for foreign sellers. So I'm Chris Pfluger. I am your managing director here at IAD Florida. And joining me today, Nena Mills from HBI Tax. Nena, how are you?
I am good, Chris. Thanks for having me on today. How are you?
I am very well, and I have actually joined you for your CE credit course and at our global training center there and in Orlando. And I will tell you, it was a fascinating topic. And I was just having this conversation off camera, how often this occurs and how little you hear about it as an agent, right? So being a professional means you're always sharpening the saw and learning. And being in the industry we're in, especially in the great state of Florida, where we have so many foreign transactions, this is a very interesting topic. So your company, you had mentioned before, handles a lot of different tax, but this is a very specialized area. And you said you handle about 1,200 cases of this a year, right? So 1,200 transactions a year, which blows me away how much is going on. So with the state of and the numerous foreign sellers that we have in the state of Florida, this is a great topic to get started on. And so I'm going to start with the Foreign Investment, Real Property Tax Act, FIRPTA. And if you can explain just briefly what it is and why do we have it?
Sure. So first of all, I'm glad you liked my class. I know that was a lot of information that day, but FIRPTA is the IRS regulation that allows the IRS to tax foreign sellers on their disposition of U.S. real property interests. Pretty much what that means in everyday terms is it's just making sure that Uncle Sam gets his piece of the pie from everybody, including our foreign national investors. And the reason that FIRPTA was developed is actually pretty logical. I joke around all the time that it was the first and last time that the IRS was logical, but they designed FIRPTA because FIRPTA is wrapped around capital gains. And anytime a foreign national sells a U.S. property, they're always going to be subject to capital gains because their properties are investment properties. They can't have a personal property in a country of which they're not a resident, right? That makes sense. So what they did is they determined that it was easier to hold back a portion of the proceeds that they're going to get at closing and keep it here in the U.S. rather than try to go to them next year and say, hey, by the way, you need to file a tax return, you need to pay us, you need to send us money. By holding that money here under the FIRPTA guidelines, they're saying if you file a return with us, we'll calculate what you actually owe and we'll give you back anything you overpaid us. So from that perspective, it does make a lot of sense. Maybe not to our foreign investors, but from the IRS, definitely makes a lot of sense to them.
Well, I'm sure the IRS would love to catch that money up front and not to chase it down year after year after year of folks saying, I'm not going to come back. I'm not going to be paying anymore, so I'm going to keep it. I'm sure that's why this came about, which is great news on the IRS side. But it's good for us to know as professionals, real estate professionals out here, what exactly our responsibilities are. So I think you made the comment, which is fantastic. You promise not to sell houses, and we promise not to give any kind of tax advice. No problem there on my side, right? So I agree with you 100%. I always refer people back to their own tax, professionals. And so in this instance, I just run across, and I just got this great listing in West Palm Beach, right? It's $7 million. And at what stage do I need to call Nena? That's what I need to know.
So first thing I always advise a realtor is, number one, every time you're interviewing a new potential client, check their status. That way you know from them from day one if they're a non-resident seller or not. By asking every one of them, you can't be accused of profiling either, so you're covered there. But as soon as you find out that they are a non-US resident and that FERPTA may possibly apply to this transaction, you can bring us in at that point. So as early as a listing contract, a listing agreement, I mean, not contract, we can come in and we can start working with the client to get all the different things that we're going to need to help make closing happen smoothly.
Well, and it's easy enough on my side, because if they're a foreign national and they're selling a home, they already know that they're a foreign national. So that doesn't change when they get the listing, or after they get the listing, when they get the actual offer in on the house. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when it closes. It matters the fact that it's going to close, and we need to have you involved. So the great question here on the HBI side, right? What services do you provide? And, as an agent, I want to be a professional. I want to be able to talk to my client and be able to mention things. So you had mentioned there's 3 benefits to working with you. What are those benefits? Who are they for?
So I think the number one benefit working with us is our professional experience. I mean, HBI has been in business for over 20 years. Our original owners were from the UK. They developed our company initially specifically to be advisors to foreign investors, because they came here, they bought a property, they realized right away there was no one to advise them to what happens next. So they filled that gap. So I feel like HBI, number one, has kind of a camaraderie and kind of has a comfort level with these clients and investors, probably like no other company, because our owners lived it. The fact that we do such a large number of transactions is a huge benefit. We have a team that's dedicated just to FERPTA. A lot of accountants will say that they handle FERPTA, but what they really mean is Susie fits it in between tax prep. That's not how we work at FERPTA, and not knocking Susie. But we actually have a team that is strictly dedicated to this, which means we have the time to follow up with your clients. We have the time to follow up with the IRS, and we have the time to help your clients after the IRS is done and dusted and starts into doing any kind of additional IRS notices or anything like that. So I think all of those are huge benefits. For the realtors themselves, I think just having us as a partner and having us in their back pocket gives credence and credibility to them. I think that when they're able to tell their clients, hey, listen, you know what? I can help you buy this house. I can help you sell this house. I don't do the tax piece. I've got a really great person that can help you with that. And they hand them over to us, and we show that that's true. I think that makes that realtor look like they're more of a superstar, rock star agent. I mentioned to you in our pre-show that statistically speaking, something like 84% of people do not sell their house with the same realtor that they buy with. And I think that's a shame. Number one, that's a pretty high percentage. And I think one of the ways you can help have that retention and have all of that referral business is to go that extra mile by offering things like the accounting services, the specialized title services. All of those things go hand in hand.
And that's a great point. So, if you're a professional and you want to make sure that somebody's followed up with properly, you want to refer them to another professional. So in this case, I think having a specialized service like this is more important than not, if you want to be part of that 16% that gets that business down the road, right? So nobody's going to come back and say, boy, I wasn't taken care of, and I'm the person that referred it, and it's reflected on me. And that is a very good thing as an agent. So you can work with, buyers and sellers, you work with the realtor, and you work with the title company. So just briefly mention, have you working, what's the benefit to the title company? What's the benefit to, obviously we know what the benefit to the realtor is, right? We professional hand off to. And then on the buyer and or seller side, what do you think are the benefits?
So I think the benefit to the sellers is primarily the fact that, again, that we have expertise in this particular market. This is very, very specialized. I actually joined Harding Bell 12 years ago. So I've become a name I think you can trust when it comes to this topic and within this industry because of my longevity in the field. Some of my title companies call me FERPTA Queen, if that tells you anything. So I think that's important to our sellers, just knowing that they have somebody that has actually done this for a while. Like, I'm not just in here for a second and then bouncing out. In fact, funnily enough, I realized the other day that I'm starting to work with sellers that I worked with when they were buyers, right? Because they came on the other side of the transaction and now they're selling. I think that the fact that we are able to walk the seller through every single step of this process and do so knowledgeably and professionally is a huge benefit to them. And I think the benefit to the buyers is the comfort level that we bring to them, knowing that someone who professionally deals with this on a regular basis is taking care of this. Because right now the IRS is a hot mess. Hopefully they don't see this video, right? and they're doing all kinds of things, and then we're on the side of the buyers to help clean that up too. So we're actually working for both sides to make sure that everybody has a happy outcome. And the other piece for us too with title companies, realtors are important, buyers and sellers are important. Everything's obviously crucial in the transaction, but let's be honest, if title can't get it done, it's not happening, right? It doesn't matter how many houses we sell or whatever we're doing. And one of the things that we really worked hard to do was to help create some balance for title, because they get blamed for everything, right? It's either realtors or the title company that's done something wrong. And in most cases, it's actually neither one of them. So what we did in terms of FERPTA, we actually created an account that will allow us to actually withhold FERPTA in that account. A lot of title companies find that to be super beneficial because they don't want to offer the withholding certificate option to foreign sellers because of the time length it takes right now to process it. The IRS is taking about 12 to 15 months to issue a withholding certificate, and that's a long time for a title company to hold on to funds. So it's a big worry and concern for them, because if the person handling the FERPTA isn't diligent, isn't staying on top of everything with the IRS, it can cause huge penalties and fines. Yeah. Just to give you guys an idea, the IRS can charge up to 25% of the withholding. And that's not including interest. So it's a really, really big deal. So we put that out there so that title companies can continue to offer both options, but still feel protected and have some liability-free concerns when it comes to FERPTA.
Well, I have to say, it is a tax function, so it's very exciting as it goes through. But it's actually super important when it comes down to when you need it, you really need it, right? You really need to have that professional in your Rolodex, if you will, or in your phone, ready to go at any particular time. And Nena's here to make sure that you look good as the realtor out there talking with clients, especially on that foreign seller side. So, Nena, I have to say, if we need to get a hold of you, there it is, scrolling across the bottom. HBITax.com, and then I've got some number you can reach out. But as a professional in the industry, I certainly appreciate all that you do, and I think we've learned a lot today, and I appreciate you joining us.
No, thanks for having me. And again, please reach out to me if you've got any questions at all. My team is waiting and happy to help you.
Fantastic. Have a great day.
You too.